In this episode of Vinyl Haul, I've got an even three-way split between thrash, death, and speed metal, along with an old metal comp. So 5 new albums and a couple not so new, but some good buys here, so definitely hang out a bit. First up is a re-recording of Sepultura's 1985 EP by Brazilian thrash band Cavalera. This is Bestial Devastation, released in 2023 by Nuclear Blast Records. So 2 episodes back, I discussed Cavalera's other Sepultura re-recorded effort, Morbid Visions, so go check out Vinyl Haul number 42 for that if interested. Since it took Nuclear Blast forever to get me this record, we're talking about it now instead of back then. Anyways, the EP starts as it did in 1985 with the short intro track The Curse, which, even though a 1 minute and 15-second intro, is actually improved with more menacing tone in the spoken lines, as well as the atmospherics. Some might remember there was a slight production difference between the original Morbid Visions and the original EP. Keeping that in mind, the jump from the original Bestial Devastation to this one isn't as dramatic, but it's certainly better. Also, the original's overall style was more black and thrash, whereas the Cavalera brothers, known back in 1985 as Possessor and Skull Crusher, gave us a more death thrash feel on this version of the EP. And I really do like the change, but some diehard fans of the original release may or may not. Either way, the production and performance are clearly more powerful and more proficient, respectively. Igor even brings back the rototoms, which are still so 80s sounding to me. Speaking of which, I hear folks mentioning Venom and Celtic Frost as influences, and while I can hear a much faster version of those bands to some extent in both editions of this EP, I really catch a lot more early Possessed than anything else, especially in the speedy parts, of which there are plenty. Also on here is a new track, and I know I'm going to butcher the Portuguese here. It's Sexta Feira 13. Sure. Anyways, the track fits well with the others, albeit a bit more basic in the riff and lyric departments, though it does have a fun breakdown. Regardless, it's still worth hearing. Anyways, vinyl variant on this one is 1 LP orange with black and white splatter. It is limited to 1,500 copies. You might notice the labels are kind of the same from Morbid Visions as well, with the Cavalera logo split. Pretty cool. Also an insert, lyrics, credits, picture of Max and Igor Cavalera there for you. As for favorites, definitely Antichrist, cool track, as well as Necromancer, but really the whole EP is pretty great. Kind of hard to pick. Also, a lyric video is available for the title track, which you can check out at the Nuclear Blast YouTube channel. So as I mentioned before, I bought both this redo as well as the redo of Morbid Visions that came out around the same time. And I do mention Morbid Visions again because the 2 releases really should be bought together. Both ramp up the heaviness considerably while still maintaining the energy and enthusiasm of the originals. Really, the best of both worlds. So check them both out. Next is a compilation album of various metal bands entitled Welcome to the Metal Zone. It was released in 1985 by Music for Nations. So right away, we have not only a much better selection of bands here than on this label's singles album, which I covered some time back, but also not one band is repeated. So 17 tracks from 17 bands, as it should be. Anyways, for those not in the know, Music for Nations was a UK rock and metal label formed in 1983 and was the way many Brits discovered North American bands such as Metallica, Slayer, Exciter, and Megadeth, among many others, including bands on this comp. A good cross-section of largely indie metal in 1985 representing America, Canada, Europe, and even Japan. It's funny because I'll be having a conversation with a pal across the Atlantic and we'll talk about a band and I'll go, yeah, great Megaforce band. And they go, no, great Music for Nations band. And we're both right. Surprisingly, there was one band here that I'd never heard before, but I definitely heard about, which is Q5. Bit of an AC/DC Crocus thing going on. Kind of dug it. Might check into them as a result. Probably. And as much as I like Tank, the nearly 8-minute track The War drags ever on. Literally drags ever on. Overall, it's alright, but there are better Tank songs out there. The Earthshaker track is a bit weak, and I've also heard better and heavier from them. The Alaska track is also pretty poppy. Anyways, vinyl variant on this one is 2LP, classic black. Also those classic Music for Nations labels, very nice. Also comes in a gatefold jacket with really cool cover photos of the albums these songs are from. Probably own about half of these at least. Very nice. As for favorites on this one, love Nightmare for Merciful Fate, classic track, as well as And Then There Were None from Exodus, and The Skull Beneath the Skin from Megadeth. So despite the few pop rock filler tracks, this is a much better Music for Nations comp for fans of actual heavy metal. Not too bad. Next up is the debut full-length studio album from American speed thrash band Traitor, specifically the one from Philadelphia. This is Last Hope for the Wretched, released independently in 2022. So the speed side of this band pulls a bit from bands like Exciter and early Overkill, but with some cool melodic and occasionally twin harmonic riffing. When the riffs go a bit crunchier though, there's still a catchiness there that'll likely get that head banging. As for the vocals, they're split up between the drummer and the rhythm guitarist, and although I couldn't say who exactly does which songs, the quality varies from shouty thrash to more trad metal singing. Though I'm wishing the vocals were occasionally a bit stronger than they are, and the verse lines to Drifter certainly come to mind, but the vocal effects do give them some heft, so there's that. I should mention that there are times when those less than strong verse parts are saved by catchy choruses, almost implying that the rest of the songs might have been written around those chorus parts, but don't hold me to that. Also, some tracks are more speed metal and others get a lot more thrash, which mixes things up nicely. Anyways, vinyl variant on this one is 1LP. It is considered orange, though it's more of a splatter, clearly. Anyways, it's limited to 300 copies. Also get an insert. Full lyrics here, as well as a picture of the band and some credits. Favorites on this one include Take Over, Baptized in Fire, and Raise the Black. Also fun is if you take a look at the runout on the vinyl, the etching on one side reads, Can't Bring Your Luxuries, and continuing in the runout on the other side is To the Gates of Hell. Which does remind me, there are no sides listed on the disc labels or the runout, and side 1 has the second half of that etched phrase, and side 2 has the first half. Likewise, the track listing here on the back implies side 1 ends with Why They Fear the Night, when it really ends with Antietam, with side 2 really starting with Drifter. So all in all, a little confusing. Be that as it may, this is a competent speed thrash record with some super catchy riffs, a bit of variety in the songwriting, and an overall solid energy to it. I think it's a decent first album, but I'd like to hear where these guys go on their next release because this is definitely some promising stuff here. But you know what? You should give it a shot. Next is a reissue of a 2012 compilation from American blackened speed metal band Midnight. This is Complete and Total Hell, released in 2023 by Metal Blade Records. So the material here is taken from Midnight's pre-Satanic royalty releases, be they from demos, splits, EPs, etc., so roughly 2003 to 2010. And there's definitely a sort of chronological flow here as you can hear the playing and production pick up over time. Certainly hearing more of the Motorhead and Venom influence in the earliest material, but with that black and roll sound, which Midnight is consistently known. But throw in some strong punk leanings as well. I'm definitely thinking Discharge and early Black Flag, notably in the aggression. As for vinyl variants on this one, it is 2LP, red, black, marbled. There's side 1, side 2. And I did want to show you both because the labels do change for side 3 and side 4. Also comes in a gatefold jacket, picture of Athanar, and the covers of some of the releases these songs are from. Also an insert, a 4-page booklet insert. Get some lyrics there for you. Some listings of the tracks and what singles, EPs, splits, what have you, that they're from, listed right there. And inside you also get more lyrics and another shot of the band. As for favorites, definitely All Hail Hell classic track, as well as Vomit Queens and Cross Held High. Check all those out. Anyways, this comp was reissued at the same time another reissue came out from Midnight, such as Shocks of Violence, which is a collection of EP and split tracks that came out since the first full-length album, as opposed to this record, which is a comp of tracks released before the first album. So if you have both and you have the LPs, you pretty much have all the studio recordings, more or less. I mean, you're not getting their cover of Quiet Riot's Slick Black Cadillac, which was on one of their splits, but you're also kind of fine without that. Anyways, I really dig compilations of hard-to-find material from bands I like, and this is definitely a band I like. Amazingly, the sound on this is a lot better than I thought it would be, given that some of it is demo material. Of course, Metal Blade is no stranger to serving up early band tracks, as that goes back to the old Metal Massacre days. I'm glad they're continuing in that tradition with Midnight, because I really didn't want to chase after all of those EPs and singles these tracks are originally from. Also didn't want to spend a whole lot of money in the process trying to find those either. So anyways, if you're a Midnight fan, you should own this for sure. But if you're unfamiliar with the band, I kind of recommend starting with the newest album first and then working your way back in the catalog before picking up this collection. But either way, great stuff. Next up is the second studio album from German blackened speed metal band Knife. This is Heaven into Dust, released in 2023 by Napalm Records. So digging the organ and spoken word intro leading straight into the breakneck thrashing speed of Hawks of Hades. Throughout, we've also got menacing gang vocals, killer drumming, lots of punk aggression, some German thrash influence, and the raspy, screamy vocals of Vince Nile. And I think it's pronounced Nile and not Neil, though the latter would be kind of funny, actually. Anyways, the vocals are pretty in-your-face and harsh, which works well with the material here, as do the occasionally melodic solos and cool bass lines. These guys do get tagged with the whole blackened speed metal thing, but they're more often speed than black. Also, we're getting some awesome up-tempo trad metal breakdowns between frenetic and pummeling thrash and speed riffs. Anyways, vinyl variant on this one is 1 LP yellow with green splatter. It is limited to 200 copies and is an exclusive Napalm Records mail order edition. Also have an inner sleeve, pictures of the band on one side, lyrics on the other. As for favorites, definitely Hawks of Hades, very cool track, also Heaven into Dust, and Realm of Violence, the last of which with its totally maiden guitar melody. But honestly, the whole album is filled with killer tracks. In fact, picking just a few is kind of hard. There are also music videos for Heaven into Dust and Night Vision, as well as a lyric video for No Gods in the Dark. You can watch all three of those at the Napalm Records YouTube channel. So without a doubt, this is a noticeable step up from their already stellar self-titled debut record back in 2021. And since Knife is now on Napalm Records, I would love to see a well-distributed reissue of that first album on the label, because I still need to get that one in the States and I don't want to pay $45 and up. As for the new release, killer album, getting tons of spins from me. I mean, seriously, check into this one. Next is the ninth studio album from American death grind band Dying Fetus. This is Make Them Beg for Death, released in 2023 by Relapse Records. So no intro on this one, just straight into the speed with double bass madness, rapid riffing, and growling vocals. As you might expect with this band, it's tight and technical, but also filthy, brutal death metal that doesn't lose any of its punch merely because of the tight and tech stuff. Even in a single track, we get chugging riffs, catchy grooves, blast beats, and slammy breakdowns. And the fretwork here moves effortlessly between insane arpeggios and crushing brutality, and then back again, with plenty of tempo shifts to keep things moving along. Production is likewise worth mentioning, with its beefiness and transparent low end that heavies up things considerably. Even the snare sound is thick and relentless, and you will hear that snare a lot here, largely to good effect. I mean, Trey's a beast on the kit. And when you combine the breakdown speed and the 38-minute runtime, this album flies the hell by, and you'll likely be putting on repeat spins just to take everything in. Anyways, vinyl variant on this one is 1 LP Red Cloudy Effect, also known as the Pool of Blood edition. It is limited to 500 copies. I should also give out some kudos to Relapse Records, as my first copy of this was damaged in transit, and they replaced it super quickly and still got me the limited variant again. Excellent customer service all the way around, so definitely thank you, Relapse. Anyways, I did also want to show that there is an insert here, full lyrics, as well as a nifty little graphic there. Take that one in, if you will. As for favorites, Compulsion for Cruelty, great song, as well as Unbridled Fury, and When the Trend Ends. There are music videos for the tracks Compulsion for Cruelty, Unbridled Fury, and Feast of Ashes, as well as a visualizer video for Raised in Victory, Raised in Defeat. You should definitely check all of those out at the Relapse Records YouTube channel. So, a very hooky, chaotic, and brutal tech death record, and it still blows my mind that there are only 3 guys in this band because their overall sound is so full and generally lacking for nothing. Really dig this cover art as well with its mock B-horror movie poster thing. Definitely one of those covers that goes well with what you're hearing. Anyways, great album and well worth checking out. Next up is the 16th studio album from American death metal band Cannibal Corpse. This is Chaos Horrific, released in 2023 by Metal Blade Records. So we've got stop-start chords and a cool bass line leading straight into the assault of overlords of violence, along with manic harmonic soloing and interplay, which does remind me that Eric Rutan joining the lineup on the last album was a major step for me and my appreciation of this band. Overall, Eric and Rob have a more impactful relationship in their playing here than on the last record. But yeah, the solos in this album totally rip. Lots of dive bombs, squeals, tremolo, and shred. If you're looking for the more obvious variety amidst the usual Cannibal Corpse formula, it's likely from the dueling leads and other exchanges between the 2 guitarists. But in addition to that, there are some moments of stepping outside the template for this band. The album does slow down at times near the midpoint, and the closing track, Drain You Empty, has bookends that crawl to an almost death doom kind of thing. Unexpected, but I definitely dig it. Anyways, vinyl variant on this one is 1 LP Charred Remains, which is likely the main variant. Hang over there. Also, we have a 4-page booklet. Got some more of that Vince Locke artwork, lyrics, more lyrics, and guess what? More of that as well. Also comes a gatefold, pictures of the band, more of the artwork there for you. Pretty gruesome. Anyways, favorites on this one, definitely Summoned for Sacrifice, as well as Pitchfork Impalement and Drain You Empty. There are also music videos out for Summoned for Sacrifice, as well as Bloodblind and Chaos Horrific. You should watch all of those at the Metal Blade YouTube channel. So I did want to talk about the cover art for a sec. Yes, it is the standard Vincent Locke art, but unless I got a bum copy here, the brightness levels on this graphic are ridiculously low. I mean, I've got panel lights on video right now, but in normal light, this is a really tough image to make out clearly. And it's definitely the levels being too low. If you've got the same thing, let me know in the comments because, I don't know, maybe mine's a printing error or something, but I doubt it. Anyways, Chaos Horrific certainly has faint moments of thinking outside the box, though. You also know what you're gonna get in general with a modern Cannibal Corpse album, and that's here as well. Though compared to the previous record, I'm getting a bit more viciousness and balance than before, which works well for them. I'd really love to hear and see more of this in future releases. Also catchier riffs, likely in part to Rutan's presence. Overall, a pretty good Cannibal Corpse album that does better in the moments when it branches out and tries new things. So just a couple other records I picked up that I have less to talk about, but are certainly worth showing. Starting with Girls' School and the deluxe edition of their 1980 debut album Demolition, but now released in 2021 by Renaissance Records. If interested in what I had to say about the original release, I did talk about it back in 2021 for a Burlington Record Fair video, so you can check that out if you want. As for this edition, it's the full album plus 3 bonus tracks at the end. It Could Be Better, Furniture Fire, and Bomber. 180 gram weight, and the sound is pretty good. Cover art for this one was borrowed from their Emergency single, which is yet another example of how shitty their cover art is in general. But still, nice little collectible. I'll just show you a few things here. Gatefold there. Some credits, track listings, pictures of some of the releases, all that. We also have the vinyl in classic black. Here and there. Also, an inner sleeve with all the lyrics, as well as more lyrics, pictures of the band. And yeah, Demolition. I mean, it's not bad. Oh, I should show you the back as well. More pictures of the band, too. Pretty cool. I like the original, but I like having the bonus tracks as well. I love the cover of Bomber. They do a decent version of it. Anyways, I also picked up a copy of the Hearing 12-inch single for the track Stars. It was released in 1986 by Mercury Records. Some of you might remember that I discussed the full album from this charity project during my 20-album Metal Chain Challenge video back in May of 2023. And even though I have that full album, I found this single in a record store, and I felt I had to grab it too. I did read recently that Wendy Dio is wanting to reissue either the single or the full album of this, which is kind of interesting. So anyways, yeah, Hearing Aid with Stars. Of course, it's on classic black, as you would well imagine. The Mercury labels. There and there. And of course, the back with the whole listing and all that. You should also see the front with the listing of every single musician on it, because there are quite a few there. Even a couple guys from Spinal Tap, because why not? So a pretty good haul this time around, though I still have a few stragglers out there I need to chase after, which will likely be in next month's episode. But until then, gotta know, did you buy any of these records? And if so, did you like them? Did you hate them? Maybe a mix of the two? Let me know that. Also, any albums you're looking to get in the near future. And of course, as always, any and all music suggestions you might have for me, give me all of that in the comments below. Of course, if this is your first time to my channel, my name is Matt. This is the Accusation Network, where each and every week I do videos on metal vinyl collecting. I also cover the subjects of classic and modern metal in general. If you like the sound of that and you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, appreciate it if you do so. But maybe also like this video, and maybe share it and some of my others with a few of your friends. Other than that, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.